Okay, so in my last video I checked the reed valve on the YZ250 and I said that the next job was to do a leak down test. So I got my leak down tester out and properly struggled with it. So the leak down tester was leaking itself. So I've been through and there was like a little push fit in. This is a bung that goes into the inlet manifold to seal the inlet manifold up, and there was an airline push fitting in here, which I was struggling with. So I've replaced that with a Schrader valve, and then I've got like a little chuck valve going on there. I'll explain that in a bit because I'm going to do a positive pressure and a negative pressure test on the cylinder, on the crankcase. So then I did a test, then it was still leaking after I changed that. I did a leak test with a technical bowl of water, just to see if there's any bubbles and stuff, and there was bubbles coming out of almost every joint. So I've replaced those, the pipes with better quality hose, and now there's no leaks from there, but I was still losing pressure from the kit. So there's a check valve here, which my plan is actually ultimately to just get rid of that altogether, or replace it with a different kind, because I've taken that out. So that was leaking. There was bubbles coming from between the actual mating surface, or what seemed to be the mating surface of the threads. There was bubbles coming out of the where the valve meets the body of this. So anyway, so I resealed that up with PTFE tape, and it's still leaking. So I've just gummed it up with a gasket sealant at the minute, which is not ideal, but I don't have my original plan was to just stick a bolt in it and PTFE tape, a bolt and a copper washer on top, and that would have sorted it out. But I don't have a bolt the right size thread, because it's like the thread of a Schrader valve, which is not just a standard metric style thread. So anyway, so you can see on there, it's been pressured up now for a while at 5 psi. I've put another Schrader valve in the bottom of that bung there, so it's like a sealed system, and that's now holding pressure. So now I can pressure test that the crankcase on the YZ125. So that's what I'm going to do now. So how does it work? So basically the leak down test works like this. Basically we leave the spark plug in. We need to get the piston down to the bottom of the stroke, so that effectively the transfer ports are open between the crankcase and the cylinder. So that means that there's a flow. It's open, so gas can transfer from the bottom to the top freely, and then that also means that the exhaust port is open. So we then block the exhaust port up with a bung, and the bung tightens up. So this is the style of bung. So you push it in, you tighten this nut up here, and then that compresses this rubber section, and then it holds that in place and it creates a seal. So that's on that side. And then on the inlet side, we then use this bung here, or there's a couple of different sizes of bungs, to be fair, and that's going to go into the inlet manifold, and we're going to tighten that up, and so that's going to seal in the inlet manifold. And then we're going to pump up pressure, so somewhere between 5 to 7 psi is the range that we're going to go for. And once we've got that pressure in, we're then going to look to see if there's any pressure drops on the dial gauge. So if there's noticeable pressure drops, we'll see that straight away. Otherwise we'll have to leave it for a couple of hours and see what the drop has been, and then if there is a drop, then we need to try and determine where that drop is coming from. So is it coming from the power valve? Is it coming from the power valve, which is here? Now this particular power valve, I have put fresh seals in. So there's a big fat O-ring, and there is also a rotary valve seal which has gone in here. So hopefully that is not the source of it. Is the leak coming from the crank seals? So you'll see that I can't access this particular side of the crank seal, the clutch side, because I've not taken any of that apart. I can get to the stator side if I need to. If the leak is coming from this bung here, then that is also possible, and if that's the case, then it's not a problem with the engine. I just need to seal that bung up a bit better. And then, is it coming from the inlet manifold? So there's the manifold itself, which could be cracked, and there's the gaskets and the mating surfaces. Now I've just had the reed valve off to check that in the last video. So they're all brand spanking new gaskets, and they're all sealed back up again, so I wouldn't expect it to be that. There is also a possibility of a base gasket leak or a head gasket leak. All of these are possible. And then the other thing is if there is a leak between the mating of the two crankcases. So I haven't done the bottom end of this bike, someone else has. So again, that is all a possibility, and if that is the case, or even if it's the crank seals, really, I'm going to want to split this motor down and make sure that the everything's as it should be. So there we go. So the next job, so I've already put the exhaust bung in, as I said. Next job is to put the inlet manifold bung in, and then we'll pump the pressure up, and then you'll be able to see what happens next. We're all connected up. So the bung's in the inlet manifold. Tighten the Jubilee clip up. Connected my hose back on, and then I put the pressure gauge in a nice place so that you'd be able to see it. So anyway, it just fell off. So I can hear a leak, and it's not holding pressure. Okay, I'm just going to spend a little bit of time working out what that is. Okay, so when I pressurize it, it is leaking from the power valve, which is disappointing because those seals are brand new, as I've said. So I'm going to have to take that back apart and then just see why it's leaking, really. And then once we've done that, we can do a pressure test again, and hopefully that will resolve the situation. So there we go. It's all back to basics, you see. That's the thing. Now the power valve though will not prevent it from starting, so there must be either a leak from somewhere else or another issue, but we do need to get to the bottom of all of it. So we'll get the power valve sorted and then move on to the next, pressure test it again and then move on to the next thing. Please like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just search Phoenix Motos.